You're watching the number one podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, and I'm your host, Jean Paul Leek. And this is Rope Break Tuesday Morning Family. You know exactly what that means. Monday Night Raw review. And, last week they had to rewrite the show. Everything Drew McIntyre wasn't there. And, this week, obviously, he wasn't there. It should wait at least 2 weeks before returning. So it's like, what were they going to do with this show? Was it going to be good? Was it going to excite you for the Royal Rumble? What was going to be the fallout from all the craziness we saw last week? Randy Orton getting his face burned and all that. Well, we did get some answers, but one of the answers was that this wasn't a good show. This was, another 3 hours of just awful, just boring Monday Night Raw. That's the thing. It's, might not be the most insulting wrestling you see on TV, but it's definitely boring. So, before we get into it, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for all the new subscribers. Great response to the Hard to Kill video for Impact Wrestling. Check that out if you haven't already. Decent, pay-per-view through and through. The main event, 2 matches really, made that pay-per-view for me. So I enjoyed it. And, check out the review and also, obviously, all the weekly shows that we have for the last week as well. But to start off Monday Night Raw, it opened up with a video package, or just not a video package, but just a video thing from a tribute, I guess, for Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Day was yesterday, so that was really nice. And then we see Randy Orton. He appeared in a video package after fans, they showed everybody in the Thunderdome. Adaaaaaa. Then boom, Randy Orton. He's wearing a luchador mask, kind of cover up the burns, but it did look a little funny. And he said that his face was burned, and he said the voices in his head have never been louder. He didn't he didn't burn Alexa Bliss 3 weeks ago, but the same was not true for him when Bliss, had things the other way around. And then he called Triple H his next victim and said that Bliss interrupted. And now look at me. Look at me. This is the damnation I receive for showing compassion. He hasn't been able to close his eyes or sleep because all he sees is the ball of fire flying towards his face. And then he said that he has first degree burns, but he doesn't blame Bliss. He blames the Fiend. Orton then said that the Fiend was trying to stop him from winning the Royal Rumble, but he will win at the Royal Rumble match. And it showed, when he won, I believe it was 2000, was it 2017 and 2009, 2007, whatever, the first time he won it. They showed those 2 times. So that was cool. I like this promo. And pretty much he's like, if you thought I was demented and deranged and unhinged before, how do you think I'm going to be now? So it's like, we're going to see an even more extreme Randy Orton. I like that. And I like how he tied this all into the Royal Rumble. So that was kind of cool. Decent opening segment there. And then we go to something that is completely awful, and we get Ric Flair and Lacey Evans. They cut a promo backstage. Lacey, she throws some shade at Charlotte, and Charlotte is going to be in a match against her tag partner, I guess, Peyton Royce next. So then we get that match, and I mean, this is exactly what you expected it was going to be. Exactly what we saw last week. Just kind of changed the characters around. Charlotte was dominating, looking really good, kicking Peyton Royce's ass, and then Ric Flair comes out. And then he gets the focal point and everything. And he's like, oh, distracting Charlotte. But it really doesn't mean anything because Charlotte just wins with a figure four anyway. But Lacey Evans was wearing one of Ric Flair's robes. It was supposed to cause a big distraction. But if Charlotte Flair still wins, then the distraction was a waste and it all meant nothing anyway. So I really don't know where they're going with this. And to be honest, I really don't care. Charlotte should be in the main event, even though we do complain she's the most legit woman on this roster besides Asuka. So she should be in the main event, not this kind of bullshit feud. But anyway, Flair doesn't release the figure eight. And then Royce was in a lot of pain. Flair made her point at the end of the match, just pretty much, not releasing the hold. So, okay. So maybe this is going to be the start of her heel turn, even though to me she was already heel. So then we get the Hurt Business. They run into Riddle backstage. Riddle said that he's taking the high road, and Shelton said, I bet you are. I love that. And then Riddle made some jokes about Bobby, and then, they all kind of leave. And then Bobby Lashley's like, hey, you know what? He says something about like, I like your flip flops, but they're probably not too practical or something like that. He's like, what do you mean? Stomps on his foot. So Riddle's pissed. And he said, you're going to, I'm going to see you later tonight. And he's like, I'm going to shove this foot right up your ass. So good intensity from Riddle there. Hyping up their 6-man tag match later tonight. So then Riddle's shown backstage with the Lucha House Party. and he's taping up his foot. Like I said, they're getting ready for that 6-man tag. So then we get Xavier Woods versus Mace is the next match. And they played a bit of a great promo from Mustafa Ali talking about Kofi Kingston, how Kofi's, hurt and he loves it because Kofi's going to miss the Royal Rumble, probably miss Elimination Chamber, just how when Mustafa Ali was hurt in Hell in a Cell and he missed all those opportunities that should have been his. And he pretty much said that, like, now you have to live through the hell that I lived through, seeing all these opportunities slip by. So really good stuff from Ali. I really enjoyed this. Reckoning was not with Retribution. That's one thing to make of note. So who knows? Maybe they're actually gonna, put her back in the women's division where she belongs. But this match was all right. I was kind of, I think the one with Dijakovic or T-Bar was a little better. I think T-Bar is a little bit better than Mace as a wrestler, a little more established. But then at the end of this thing, Woods kicked T-Bar and Mace off the apron. Retribution circled the ring. Mace nailed a stiff kick before picking Woods up, and then Mace dumped him in the middle of the ring and won the match. Almost kind of did like what Abyss does, like the side, like almost are like a boss man sidewalk slam, but I don't know if Woods didn't hold on or Mace didn't grab it right or something got fucked up, but he like kind of slid and then fell on his own, and the Mace just kind of had to fall on top of him instead of actually being the one to slam him down. But whatever, Mace wins this thing. The right winner, I guess we're going to see this feud, Xavier Woods versus, the Retribution. Couldn't even think of their name. Too many factions, none of them make an impact, so there you go. Then we see Alexa's Playground. She addresses Randy Orton, and Bliss said that things got a little heated last week, and then she offered some sunblock, and all just making the jokes that the Fiend would normally make, and then she invited Asuka to her playground, but Bliss didn't let Asuka sit on the other swing. She said somebody was sitting there, and then they both shared some manic laughter. Bliss delivered some breaking news, and she's entering the Royal Rumble, and Asuka wished her the best of luck. Asuka said it would be an honor to face her at WrestleMania because she's a big fan of hers. Then Asuka said, "Yowie wowie," and then Bliss was upset by this. And then they played Asuka's music, and she danced because Asuka was trying to lighten up the mood. She's like, "Oh no, let's dance!" And they played her music. So Bliss got pissed. She got up and got in Asuka's face, and then her imaginary friend talked her out of it. Bliss said that it wasn't supposed to be like this, and that she seemed sad. Asuka spoke in Japanese, and then said the Fiend is still here, and Bliss said, "Do not say his name." Asuka left, and then Bliss walked over and sat on her wooden rocking horse. So, and well, the rocking horse was like moving before that too, and then that kind of what really scared Asuka. So she was like, "I'm getting the hell out of here." So, I mean, this was decent. It set up the match. I do like all the stuff with Bliss, but it was just awkward with Asuka. Just the language barrier and stuff. It's just this didn't gel too well. So then we see Mandy Rose versus Shayna Basler, and this was okay, but it's the same feud that we keep seeing. So it's like, what I don't understand the point is. We see the same thing every week. No new development, no new nothing with this. So it's what's the point? But at the end of this thing, Rose tried to mount a comeback, but Basler knocked her down. And then Basler grabbed Mandy's right arm and brought her down. She locked in the Cure Fuda clutch and got the submission. Like I said, it's the same shit every week. Shayna wins 2 out of 3 of these matches. Mandy Rose wins 1 of them. And it's like, okay, what's the whole point here? Then we see Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. They're arguing backstage after the match. Dana Brooke nailed Jax with a drop kick off the apron and sent her into Baszler. And then after the commercial, Nia and Shayna were still bickering backstage, and they want their rematch for the women's tag team titles because they're like, Charlie was like, "Oh, it seems you two aren't on the same page," and she's like, "Well, none of these tag teams for the women are on the same page." And they're like, "Hey, you know what? That's a good point. Maybe we should, get our rematch, even though there is no rematch clause, so they're not guaranteed a rematch. But, what do I know?" Let me see Ricochet. He's talking to Adam Pearce backstage. In gorilla position, AJ Styles walked up, and he starts talking some trash. Ricochet mentioned 51st Dates and said that AJ is like Drew Barrymore from that movie. He has amnesia because he belongs in the Royal Rumble match. So, Ricochet get a little bit better at the promo, no, I don't know, but this was just I don't understand why Ricochet has to fight for his position, and then other people like Peyton Royce, Alexa Bliss can just be like, "I'm in the Royal Rumble," and that's just fine. But then people who are legit like Ricochet actually have to try to fight for their cause to be in the Royal Rumble. So then we get, which was no doubt the best match of the night, AJ Styles versus Ricochet. And this was really good. There's no way that AJ Styles puts on a bad match. Ricochet, same thing. And Ricochet was just doing all that crap with Retribution. He's finally looks like he's away from that storyline. So now we get this, and this was, like I said, the best match of the night. Really good. Almost got involved a little bit. Ricochet jumped to the outside, almost caught him, and the ref's like, let him go, let him go. So he's like, all right, and just kind of dropped him on the ground. And, it's just, but he doesn't get involved too much, which I like. But at the end of this thing, Ricochet went up top, Styles caught him, and then Ricochet went for a springboard move from the apron, but Styles caught him, and then he moved him into a Styles clash for the win. Like, he almost caught him, and it looked like he was going to hit like some kind of suplex, but he just bounced Ricochet off the ropes, and when he bounced off the ropes, Ricochet kind of flew back into Styles upside down, which he caught him, and then put him in the Styles clash, pinned him 1, 2, 3. But this is a match where if you can go back and watch it, watch the highlights on YouTube, whatever you got to do, rewatch this because this was really good. And the winner is AJ Styles, like I said. So good match here. He still looks strong going into the Royal Rumble. So then we get the dirt sheet. So this is a segment where I was not looking forward to what we got. I don't even know if this would have been better if we got the actual guys or the ones who we got, but let's just get into it. So the Miz, they introduced Goldberg, and out comes Gilbert instead. And I will just say this. It was good to see Gilbert because a month or two ago, he suffered a heart attack. People didn't know what was up. And with being a wrestler, I don't know his situation, but most of the time, they don't really have too good insurance unless they get another job that gives them the insurance and all this stuff. So it was good to see him get, a WWE paycheck. They bring him back, give him some money. And when people see him on TV, oh yeah, hey, I remember this guy. Then they look him up, can, support him in other ways and stuff. So that was good that he got some national exposure like that. So they bring him out instead of Goldberg. So you knew that this was just going to be a whole joke segment. Then Drew McIntyre's music hits, and out comes pretty much this guy who I don't even know who he was. They picked him up at the local 7-Eleven, some out of shape guy. He's coming, and then the Miz says that it's a classy talk show, and then the fake Drew McIntyre said he's going to kick Goldberg's ass and then go eat some haggis. And then the Miz says that he will cash in his Money in the Bank contract at the Royal Rumble because he's the Miz and I'm next. So I don't, you know what I mean? It's like this, it's just not good. The Miz and Morris is not good. And like Juan said it, I said it, the guy had the briefcase, he cashed in, failed. He has it now again. And what's he going to do? Cash in and fail again? Then what was the whole point? It doesn't make any sense. Excuse me. I don't really know where they're going with this. And, with him having the briefcase and then the other option is Goldberg, I feel scared for Drew, so I don't want to know where this is going to go next. But then we get the Lucha House Party and Matt Riddle versus the Hurt Business. And this match was really good. The main focus here was just the Hurt Business was kind of a little bit of a disarray going on there. You see maybe too many egos, I don't really know what the story is there, but it was a really good match. Kind of, you have Shelton who looks good, and Cedric tags himself in, and then they're kind of, you still see that going on. Lashley's like, you guys need to work this bullshit out. He tags himself in, hits a huge spear on Grand Metalik, picks him up, puts him in the Hurt Lock instantly. He taps out. So that was pretty much the end of that thing. But, it still keeps him looking good. Matt Riddle looked good in this as well. And, that's the feud. I think we're going to see maybe Matt Riddle eliminate Bobby Lashley at the Royal Rumble. They're going to build something, maybe do a match at Elimination Chamber, maybe even save this for WrestleMania. Who knows? I was hoping this would have been a singles match at the Royal Rumble, but we already know Lashley's going to be in that match, so I doubt he'll be working double duty. But I'm glad to see that this feud is still going, because I think, the way they're presenting Bobby Lashley, if Matt Riddle can beat him for the title, it'll make Matt Riddle look that much more special. So then we get Elias and Jackson Riker. They had a little bit of banter backstage about beating Jeff Hardy. So we're going to see a match later on between Jeff Hardy and Jackson Riker, which I know that you're also excited for. Then we get a promo by the real Drew McIntyre, and obviously he's from his home. He's still quarantining himself, and he said he's feeling a lot stronger than ever, but he's still in quarantine. He enjoyed a little bit of Gilbert, and David Krumholtz. So there we go. I guess we have that guy's name. But he said that sometimes that lions like to eat the clowns. So maybe I think he's referring to Miz and Morrison here as being the biggest clown. So hopefully he is able to eat them and not, lose his championship at the Royal Rumble. So then we see Jeff Hardy versus Jackson Riker. And this was, I don't know. I like Jeff Hardy. I think Jeff Hardy is one of those guys who is a clear-cut babyface. Every match you see him in, you always want to see him win. And it's not even just nostalgia reasons. He's just, he wrestles like a babyface. He's good. He's exciting. He is charismatic. It's in his nickname. So obviously, and this, I wish I had something better for him. You have The Fiend on Monday Night Raw, and he's in this long feud with Randy Orton, but build up Jeff Hardy so he could go after The Fiend. I know The Fiend's kind of only going after people who, he has history with right now, and there's no history with Jeff Hardy, but this would be a legit feud to do. But it seems like Jeff Hardy's been in this feud with Elias since SmackDown, and it's like, none of us really care. But at the end of this thing, Riker kept putting Hardy down. Jeff continued to kick out. Eventually, Elias hit Hardy, and the referee called for the bell. So, obviously, Jeff Hardy wins by DQ. Riker was kind of pissed about this, and then Jeff hit Elias with a drop kick through the ropes, and then Jackson spiked Hardy onto the mat, and they ended the segment. The two heels were arguing as Jeff laid there and sold this. So, that this feud isn't going to be over. And like I said, dude, they're already splitting Riker and Elias up, and it's like, what was the point? When the one group who we want to see split up, the Miz and Morrison, they're the ones who are going to stay together forever. So the winner of this thing, Jeff Hardy by DQ. So then we get to the main event already. Asuka versus Alexa Bliss is the main event. Do I think this match deserved to be here? No, not really. But, at least they did some interesting stuff storyline-wise, I guess. If I was booking this, I don't really know how I would have did it, because you want to protect the Alexa Bliss character with the Fiend's powers and everything. And I guess that the way they told it, it's fine. It makes a little sense. And thankfully it wasn't a title match, but beginning of this thing, Asuka's dominating, like she should. And then kind of the lights go out, and then Alexa Bliss transforms. She's now the Fiend, or, evil, or whatever you want to call it. And her hair looks a little different, black lipstick on and stuff. So you can obviously tell this was, edited or, pre-recorded segment or some kind of bullshit. And then Bliss kind of just starts dodging all Asuka's strikes and everything. But at the end, she hits a huge spinning back fist, all these strikes on Alexa Bliss. She sells it for a second or two, but then no sells it, grabs Asuka, holds her for what feels like an eternity, and that's what kind of killed it for me. Eventually gives her the kiss, Sister Abigail. 1, 2, 3 pins her. The lights kind of go out again. And then when they come back on, she's normal, like the happy Alexa Bliss. She doesn't have the crazy hair and the black lipstick. So she pins Asuka 1, 2, 3. And then whenever Alexa Bliss went to the evil side, Asuka was kind of, that threw her off her game a little bit. But, I don't know what this is, if this is going to be the title feud, and then they're going to try to have Charlotte be babyface and beat Alexa Bliss. That would be bullshit to me. I don't know. I really don't know what they're saving this for. Hopefully not a title feud. Hopefully Bliss doesn't win the Royal Rumble. Hopefully Bliss isn't in title contention, and this was just to get her over. But it kind of makes Asuka look bad, look like an afterthought. But that's nothing new. I've been saying that for weeks, that Asuka's like the afterthought. She's like the third, let's think about the women on Raw. Okay, Charlotte, Alexa, Lacey Evans, Nia. Oh yeah, we have Asuka, our women's champ. Like, she's like, the fifth woman they think of when it's like, oh yeah, who do we have? Oh, she's like an afterthought. So it's a shame, but that's Monday Night Raw. And I think, when they write this show, it's an afterthought. They go, what time is it? 6 p.m. on a Monday? We should probably start figuring out what we want to do. Because it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's so lazy. A couple good things here. Like I said, Randy Orton was pretty good. AJ Styles, Ricochet was good. I'm excited for Drew just because he's legit, but not excited for this match. It seems like a no-win. He's going against Goldberg. And last time we saw him, he's not going to beat the Fiend. Beats the Fiend. And then Miz and Morrison in the briefcase and everything. So I don't know. I hope the Royal Rumble's good, but I have a feeling it's going to be like last year. It's going to be half good and half shit. But the one thing that is always good and is never shit is Rope Break. So guys, thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to follow us on all the social media. Rope Break on Facebook, the OG Rope Break on Twitter, Original Rope Break on Instagram, and of course right here home of the #1 podcast, the YouTube wrestling community, the original Rope Break. So thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Adaaaaaa.